Chair. Let me thank the witnesses today for your valuable testimony and your compelling examples here today. Mrs. Peterson, I want to particularly thank you for sharing your life journey. You're really a shining example of success and perseverance, and appreciate your passion and courage. We're having this hearing today as we consider reforms to Title 4B, which of course is an important child welfare program that provides flexibility funding to states and tribes. As the chairman of the Work and Welfare Subcommittee, I take very seriously our responsibility to ensure we have a strong safety net for nearly 370,000 children in foster care who have experienced the trauma and hardships of abuse and neglect. This Congress, the Work and Welfare Subcommittee, has taken a deep dive into current challenges facing child welfare, continuing the decades-long tradition of doing so in a bipartisan basis. Last week, I was proud to co-lead the introduction of the Parents Act with my fellow Illinoisan ranking member, Congressman Danny Davis, a bill aimed at finding ways to better nurture the relationship between foster children and their incarcerated parents. Our subcommittee has held 2 child welfare hearings this particular Congress. In September of last year, we heard from witnesses about ways to modernize Title 4B. And in January, the subcommittee held a hearing on improving support for the 19,000 youth aging out of foster care each year. Witnesses at these hearings included state officials, leaders from community-based organizations, and former foster youth who shared recommendations on ways to improve the system moving forward. And this full committee hearing today signals important progress in our ability to work together to reauthorize Title 4B of this Congress. Mrs. Peterson, one of the policies that I focused on our subcommittee is embracing the stories of those that have experienced transformational change from the power of employment, brought to their lives by a job. The focus has been not just about the job, but the dignity of work. I appreciate your perspective on how we can encourage and promote this dignity for all vulnerable populations, including foster youth. As you know, only about 55% of foster youth are in full-time employment past the age of 18. In our opinion, let's strike that. In your opinion, why is the percentage so low, and how can we improve barriers to full-time employment for foster youth?
Thank you for your kind words, and thank you for your work. It sounds very powerful. I think this percentage is so low for 2 reasons. The first is that foster youth usually do not receive as many opportunities as their peers who are not in foster children. That can be because foster youth tend to be stigmatized as troubled children, which makes it harder for them to gain employment as young people, or because foster youth usually move from home to home unexpectedly. This causes them to miss out on opportunities like sports tryouts, or makes them have to leave jobs unexpectedly, which then makes them less hireable when they go to get another job. There's also the piece that I briefly mentioned in my statement. One of the young men my husband and I were mentoring as a part of this nonprofit, he was a former foster youth, and he was living off of free housing and getting a weekly stipend from Chafee funds. And those offering him these resources told him he would continue to receive the resources as long as he worked 20 hours a week. And he wasn't doing any higher education no higher education, just work. So what programs like this teach young people is that part-time work is sustainable for life, and they can live off of government resources. The young man did get removed from the program because he wasn't meeting the requirements of working 20 hours a week, and he then fell into homelessness. But just a couple months later, he gained full-time employment. He's now paying for his own housing. His mental health is doing much better because he can't sleep all day because he has to go to work. And my husband and I see this pattern in young people again and again and again. And the point is not that we shouldn't help, but that there is a point when helping hurts, and it's our responsibility as the helper to figure out where that point is. When resources are excessive, they can become enabling to young adults and communities, because communities are then given permission to not invest their time and energy and love into these youth. So we need to find that fine line of giving young adults what they need to survive in an empowering way rather than an enabling way.
Well, Mrs. Peterson, that's a great example of what we're focused on the importance of employment and the dignity of work. And we're grateful to have you here today. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you.